individual, they're an individual. Their needs may be higher or lower, and they may have a specific state that is not required. So the recommended dietary allowance, right, that is for 97 to 98% of the population, but you can have 2% of the population that falls above that, or you could be working with somebody whose needs are in the first percentile, right? So that just means that they've covered themselves to make sure that almost everyone in a given range will have their needs met by that nutrient, but they will not have exceeded to the toxic level. And we'll talk about this more when we get to vitamins and minerals, but that's just generally what that is. Okay, so again, this is all going to be in 417B. It's just up here because you may need it in another class, and it's easier for me to put it once. Okay, so nutrients which are not considered essential in the typical population used to set nutritional requirements, but which may be required in other populations due to special concerns, are conditionally essential nutrients. What does that mean? It means that, let's say the average person doesn't need an amino acid because it's not essential. When we go to preterm infants, there's a little clinical correlation in there. It turns out that in preterm infants, they may need something because they're not ready to synthesize it yet. Okay, so adults can synthesize one amino acid from another a lot of times. But as people go through different stages and phases of life, maybe an illness or disease requires supplementation in excess of what you could get from a normal diet or in excess of what your body could produce. Okay, so that's a conditionally essential. Based on your specific situation at that time, you need more of something. Or, like, if you look at the MTHFR mutation, I don't know if people are familiar with this, it's the methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme. So they've looked at this because it means that your enzyme is shaped differently, and you may be less effective at converting folate from one form to another, right? Which means that you're not moving methyl groups, which means you need more substrate than someone who didn't have that enzyme. So that's, and again, we'll get that later, but there's another example. Okay, so how do you determine conditional essentiality? Lowered plasma nutrient levels into the abnormal range, development of chemical, structural, or functional abnormalities, and successful resolution of both these conditions once dietary supplementation occurs. So once you add this back, it reverses. The difference between these two things is that an essentially nutrient, everyone, no matter who you are, whether it's relative proportions, whether you're in the first percentile or the 100th percentile, you need the nutrient to survive. Conditionally essential means most healthy adults in the reference range don't need it. There's something about you that's unique that means that you need it. Whether that means you need more of it, or whether that means that somebody else doesn't need it and you do, that's the difference. Okay? Okay, so